very good evening to you and welcome to Big Talk here on Global Television. My name is Godwin Sunday. Well, we had a lot of lined up conversations for you today, but we'll be delving into. One of those conversations is assessing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's scorecard in terms of youth mobilization in his 2 years of office. And joining me in this conversation is the SA on youth mobilization to the Cross River State Governor, in the person of Honorable Dan OBO. You're welcome to the Big Talk.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's delve into this conversation right away.
Okay.
First, in your own assessment, how would you generally assess the president in terms of his 2 years performance in office?
Yes, you know, every time we are confronted with the president's 2 years in office, it's one of the simplest things to do, you know, because his achievement within the space of 2 years is visible to the blind, particularly having to do with the young people constituency, right? The reality is that people keep talking about HON, people keep talking about youth inclusion, people keep talking about local government autonomy, people keep talking about laws that will keep hope alive. So for me, I believe that 2 years assessing President Tinubu is it's something good for me, and I believe that going forward in the remaining 2 years of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, there will be better opportunity for young people.
Well, a lot of young people,
and if you look at his cabinet, I can tell you for free that majority of those in his cabinet are young people.
A lot of young people will say that the president's government is being marred with a lot of irregularities. That is, most of the young people that have benefited from the president's this current administration are all members of the All Progressive Congress. And as such, the average Nigerian who is not a member of the All Progressive Congress tend to suffer because it doesn't support the presidency's ambition. But how correct is this narrative? Even
no, but you know that's not true. You know that's not true.
Well, I wouldn't know. You are.
No, you know the reality is that in our democracy, Nigeria has a culture, right? Between 1999 till today, we have Olusegun Obasanjo, we have Yar'Adua, we have Jonathan, Buhari up to this point. You cannot carry the whole of this problem for the past 26 years and tie in Tinubu's head. That's one. Two, no, it is only Tinubu that has appointed someone who is not a member of the APC, which is Nyesom Wike. So you cannot really say that. Well, how about the man who is Minister for Communication? You know his history and his background. He wasn't an APC member. But in the course of trying to be sure that he gives the president, the incoming president, a run for his life to be sure that Nigeria gets better, the president brought him in. He wasn't a member of he didn't even vote for the president. So when people say young people are not benefiting because they are not members of the APC, it's not true. And you should know so. It's not true.
Well, I wouldn't know because...
I'm not telling you that it's not true.
Well, when it has to do with the voting, and of course some of the interactions that we've had with the young people that are basically on the rural community, they will say that they've not really benefited from the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Let's take this conversation even down to remote communities, starting from Cross River State. They will ask salient questions, but the local government will ask, what have the president done for us? Because they already felt the impact of the government. Now, let's move from that point to even Ainga in Kogi local government. Let's travel down to Gombe State, Biliri and Katingo. We'll say they've not really felt the impact of government. And this has been the normal tradition of government in Nigeria, president in out. Locals don't get to feel the impact of democracy. But let's talk about this in this regard. What has changed in President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in terms of locals benefiting from the government?
A lot has changed.
All right.
Right? Now, between you and I, the closest government to the people is local government. I'm sure you know so.
Yeah.
Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has deliberately, even going through the court to be sure that local government autonomy comes to stay. And between you and I, if the local government autonomy has come to stay, the governor has gotten more monies than ever as at today. So the closest government to the people is local government. In a deliberate attempt to reach the locals, The president has insisted on local government autonomy. And as of today in history, the whole country, nowhere you have caretaker, nowhere you have the head of administration heading local government. You have democratically elected council chairman whose responsibility it is to look at the issues and challenges of the local, because the president cannot reach Obudu local government. There's a chairman in Obudu. So what else is he supposed to do? He's supposed to leave the villa and go and be chairman of Obudu.
So the synergy between which Nigerian youth are...
There's a synergy.
Not flowing.
No, the synergy not flowing. It is our duty as young people to hold our leaders accountable at different stratas. Not just to hold one man accountable. It's not. Between you and I, the president himself said, look, we've come on board. It is obvious that, we need to look at the local people, look at our communities, look at how we can save our people, provide basic amenities for our people. And in doing so, we can't depend on federal house members, House of Assembly, senators, and governor. This third tier of government needs leadership to work for Nigerians to benefit. And between you and I, he should be applauded for even going to court and meet resistance by some governors. So going to court is a deliberate attempt to be sure that his government reach the young people and reach the grassroots, reach the royal people. And it's happening.
All right. Let's even look in terms of the challenge that young people are confronted with in Nigeria. One of those challenges is funds. Nigerian youth are progressive in nature.
Yeah.
But when it has to do with the funding of Nigerian youth, a lot of them would tell you that they don't have access to fund. In 2 years, we've not seen a significant progress.
When you say access to fund, what do you mean?
Also, what I mean by access to fund is very simple. Prior to this time, we had the Empower kind of project by the former governor, president of Nigeria, the president Bola, and the president of Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, that came up with the Empower. Of course, President Buhari Muhammadu came up with his own access to fund for young people to be able to trade and compete favorably with their counterparts around the world. But right now, we've not seen any of the initiative, probably UWIN or Empower or any of
Is there anybody in all of these benefits you say is outstanding?
Yeah, we've seen quite a number that have been outstanding. As it has to do with the tech world. We've seen a lot of Nigerians that have emerged as a result of funds from some of these initiatives by formal administration. But youth are clamoring right now that they've not been able to benefit from the system. So I want to find out from you, is it that the youth are not benefiting in the last 2 years, or the president doesn't want to go this route in order not to offend party members in this regards?
No, when you're dwelling much on the party. The president is the president of Nigeria.
We wouldn't know when youth are saying that they are not benefiting.
I'm also a young man. I'm a youth. Right? Yeah,
but
what are the point I'm trying to make? Don't dwell on the party. Let's dwell on governance.
All right.
Yes, you understand that, because the issues of party is over. Now it's time for governance. Every government comes with its own initiatives that has to do with youth development, right? Every government comes with its own initiative that has to do with youth inclusion. Everybody has a style. For me, as of today, the first thing is that in that same government you were talking about, I don't like talking about the past, because as you come into government, you're expected to build in the successes of your predecessors and not to complain. And of course, that's what the president is doing. First is that if you go to Ministry of Youth Development, the minister in person of Honorable Wisdom is doing so well there. If you go to Ministry of Communication, the minister there is doing so well. If you go to Ministry of Interior, is doing so well. So all of them have to do with young people. And the first thing is that you're not talking about a few things the president has been able to bring on board, right, that could get the country going. Let me tell you, between you and I, right, one of the best things that happened to us as a generation, as of today, is to get President Bola Ahmed Tinubu come stabilize the country for the next generation to take over. And I think we're giving him our support in totality to be sure that he achieves that. The man is just 2 years. And the entire problem of the country, I mean, for example, you see people talking about coalition, right? Now you're talking about coalition. The same people who are talking about coalition, they were the ones who removed Jonathan in 2015, right? They were the ones who brought this government of the APC. Now they are the same people who campaigned for Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Suddenly you're now doing another coalition. Are you taking Nigerians for a ride? So what do we really want as a country?
Well, I will leave that to politicians to answer what they really want for the country. Of course, I'm not a politician, but then let's talk in terms of security of the country or young people. Right now, even from Khan, coming from Catholics and Christian faithfuls in Benue State, as at yesterday, there was a conference that was held, and this in what large conversation around this was that young people should be able to defend their territory. That is, the president is doing well, even in terms of security, but the well is not enough in this regard. Let's get you react to this in terms of the president's achievement on security and youth. Should we begin to look the other way in terms of defending ourselves in its totality? Or what should youth begin to do in this regard in terms of assessing the president's achievement in security, especially as it affects young people?
Yes, it's quite unfortunate, right? Since 2014 down to 2015 to today, there's been an issue of one of these kind of cases or the other. But between you and I, in the few times the president has come in, some local government that were taken over have been regained back by the military. Yes, what is happening in Plateau and Benue is so sad, and I think that can never be the president's wish for an average young Nigerian. He has come to govern not for anybody to die, but he has come to govern for us to live and enjoy the dividends of his governance. So for me, in terms of security as at today, whether we like it or not, our service chiefs, our security agencies, the NSA, or as I speak with you, the chief of army staff is already living in Benue State, or to be sure that our people are secure. This also goes down to talk about the local governments. All of these communities where these issues are happening are communities that have local leadership. The big question is that, what is the local leadership doing differently to secure its people? When it happens to hear council chairman say they are handicapped, it happens to hear governors say they are handicapped. The security vote, what are they using it for? So why is it that at every time you expect that the president will come secure even your backyard? Look, let's face reality. We're in a country where we don't even have confidence in ourselves. We don't even trust ourselves. We're in a country where, people will suspect each other at every time. We're a country where we're not even fair to each other. We're talking about the young people. Let me tell you, if you gather 200 young people in this hall today and ask them to vote you for House of Assembly, as they are leaving, you don't give them transport to go, they won't vote for you. Are they old people? So as young people, there is need for personal reorientation to say, look, if this man is fit for this job, you can't, look, guy, you can't spend 1 billion to go to Senate and come and do good governance. You can't do that. You cannot. So the young people themselves, we need to go back and begin to say, look, for us to vote for ourselves, let's vote for a son of nobody. Let's not vote for someone who will come and give us money. We're already trading our vote for governance, so you don't trade and expect governance at the end of the day.
All right, let's hold on that thought right now. I understand I'm being joined right now by the publicity secretary of the National Publicity Secretary of the Alliance for African Democratic Congress and the person of Effiong Oyong, who is also joining us in this conversation. Good evening and good to have you join us right now in this conversation, Dr. Effiong Oyong. Good evening, and so good to have you join us right now in this conversation. Dr. Effiong Oyong, the National Publicity Secretary of the Alliance for African Democratic Congress.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear right now. Well, all right, let's get your assessment right now, even of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Of course, we will say that the president has done magnificently well in terms of representing the progressives, and 22 states are even tilting towards the progressive lane right now and has gotten various endorsements by various governors. But in your own assessment in 2 years so far, what do you have to tell us about the president's magnificent achievements in the last 2 years?
Well, I like to assess the president on 3 scores. 1, security; 2, economy; and 3, governance. Now, under security, Between me and you can see that the country is worse than it was as at May 29th, 2023. 2 years of his administration, the security situation has gone worse. Now, we may want to quote it with any kind of paint, but the reality is, how many of us are able to travel by road? How many of us are able to travel by road without fear? You can check out the security situation in the south, in the southeast, in the north central, even in the northeast, even in the northwest, where there was seeming calm at some point. Between 2014 and now, it's been a terrible situation. It's been degeneration all the way. And between 2023 and now, there's nothing to write home about in terms of security. Now, while watching the program a while ago, your guest in the studio did talk about local government chairmen and people asking for security, that the federal government should come and do security. What do they do with security votes at the state? There has to be this understanding that all security apparatus in the country are controlled by the federal government exclusively. The IG takes orders from the federal government, the president. The commissioner of police takes orders from the IG, and that's how it runs down the line. No state government, well, of course, we've seen situations where security details of state governors have been removed before, and that happened because it is the federal government that controls the security apparatus. It has nothing to do with security votes in terms of management or personnel. That is one. When you look at the economy, it has been so woeful. In 2014, when this government, the APC government, were taking over, the naira was 197. As at when President Buhari was leaving, the naira was around 450 naira to the dollar. Today, as we speak, it is 1,600 naira to the dollar. Now, when somebody looks at it on the economic side, you now say, what is it that this government has done for it to deserve any praise? And that is the benchmark of every administration, to see the value of your currency to the international currency that is acceptable, because much of what happens, because us is a consumer nation, so we are constantly concerned with the cost or the rate, the exchange rate at any point. So for our government to devalue our currency to the level where the Nigerian naira goes for 106,000 naira to $1 is woeful. Bad enough, that tells you that there's been no progress at all. In the area of governance, it is the first time that we find a situation whereby a number of persons in this government are acting based on a high level of aberration and impunity. The minister of the Federal Capital Territory operates as if he's in a different kingdom of his own. You talk about infrastructure. The president, in one of his landmark projects, the Calabar-Lagos Coastal Road, over this weekend, we saw the government celebrate the completion of 30 kilometers. 30 kilometers is about 4% of the road. It's 750 kilometers. Now, when a government begins to launch or inaugurate or commission 30 kilometers of a 750-meter road network, to me, I think it is fraudulent to deceive the people and show to the people that it is doing something when we know that we are just moving around in circles. Still talking about governance. When young people do not have a freedom to express themselves, when they are being caged, how do I mean? The cost of tariff, data has become very expensive. The level of taxation around the country has been very expensive. Everything around the country has been heightened. Multiple taxation has never been this bad, except under this administration. The taxation is so that you cannot even know where to run away from. There's high cost of tariff in electricity. There's high cost of tariff that was denied. Of course, the issue of subsidy removal is another matter, which has further crippled every aspect of the Nigerian economy. A Nigerian economy is one economy that runs on fuel. Now, government decides to remove subsidy. Now, you wonder why it is the way it is. Now, if government has removed subsidy, that's on one hand. What is government doing with the money that it is saving from the subsidy? That's apart. The government we hear has paid out 3.5 billion naira IMF loan, and the same government is seeking to borrow $21 billion as loan. So the money that we are mopping up from the savings of petroleum, where are we deploying the money? How much is it? This government does not understand or does not believe in accountability. So we can paint it with whatever kind of colors we want. The reality of it is that Nigerians are worse off. Nigerians are feeling very, very secure than they ever were. Nigerians are poorer than they have ever been. A lot of Nigerians have been thrown out of jobs. There are no jobs coming. Now there's another hoodwink. Let me tell you another thing that's happening. That's a color, more like a veil. They tell you that the inflation is reducing. Inflation cannot go any. Non-inflation is reducing because the truth about it is that people do not have money to buy anything, so the price of goods remain where they are because the money is not there. How many times do people feed in a day under this government? So when you look at it in global terms, when you break it down in micro terms and look at the specifics, it is not. Nigerians are not living well. 2 years of this administration has been 2 years of pain, 2 years of insecurity, 2 years of deceit. Things are largely looking different from what they actually are. That's where the deceit comes from. That's where the lies come from.
All right, Doctor.
Yes, please.
We have in the studio here a member of the All Progressive Congress who is the SA on youth mobilization, even to the serving governor of Cross River State. And he will quickly want to react to some of the things. Of course, you mentioned 3 indicators for your analysis. And number 1, you've mentioned security. Number 2, you've mentioned economy. And the third, you've mentioned governance. Let me bring this back to Mr. Obo here in the studio to quickly react to some of the things that you've said. If at all the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been able to tackle any of this and what progress we need to make in this regard. Let me bring this back to you here in the studio. You've listened to the president of Dr. Ifyong, and he has come out with 3 indicators that the government has completely derailed from: economy, security, and governance. How will you react to some of these positions?
I will try to be a bit careful because he's like a big brother from Cross River, and so no matter what it is, we're going to go back home to to first meet ourselves. The first point is that in terms of governor, I spoke about the Calabar Coastal Way. Between you and I am a Cross Riverian, so you can't pass through Odupani. As I speak with you today, you can pass through Odupani with the effort of the state governor and also with the effort of Mr. President. In terms of security was worse in 2014. It was worse. Communities captured, local government captured, even states. But as I speak with you today, between you and I, if you take away the crisis in Plateau, you take away the crisis in Benue, and then look at what is happening in Borno, I think it's not as bad as it used to be. And so I expect that instead of coming to say that, look, the president is not doing well here and there, you should rather say, look, the takeoff is fine. He confessed that inflation will go down. It goes down and go up. It goes down and go up. It's a normal thing. And between you and I, you can't be talking about the future. If you want to build this house back, you must first destroy it. And of course, if you destroy it, you're going to build something better. That is where Nigeria is. And for me, the judgment of a citizen, one person, is not enough to pass a verdict for a government. The Nigerian people will take a position on whether to return President Tinubu or not. People with personal perception about the government. For me, just like the Bible says, that we must always pray for our leaders. In terms of governance, I keep saying it as a young man. President Tinubu has included, go and check his cabinet, less than 50, majority. So what else is he supposed to do for us? Yes, you talk about he spoke about the security. State governors don't having access to security. The ones that have. If you talk about not having access to security, is Benue State not APC? Is Borno State not APC? And so, if you say because this particular governor is not a member of the APC, doesn't have access to security, how about the APC states? So, the issue of insecurity has become something that all hands must be on deck to resolve it, not just government. Government cannot do everything. Government cannot. So, for me, in rating this government of President Tinubu in terms of governance, infrastructure is visible to the blind. He spoke about the FCT minister. Even the enemies of FCT minister knows that he's doing well. Even the enemies of Nyesom Wiki knows that he's doing well. Even those who don't like him can openly say, you are doing well. For me, we must be very constructive in criticizing government. We must also do it going forward to know that, look, whatever we are doing, there's a tomorrow. Whatever we are doing, we must all come together. He is talking as a party man. Of course, his opposition. We must speak to see how he can win people to their side. But I give you my word, the young people of Nigeria will return as Asiwaju to stabilize what he has started. We will no longer go back to history where a president sets a system, right? That at the end of the day, we are going to benefit. At the end of the day, to add value. And then in between, a set of people will come and say coalition. And then we will vote the president out and start from the beginning. We won't do that. We will not. We will wait and see the end of the policies of this government. We will wait and see the end of this President Tinubu's 4 years. And of course, so a democracy that has run from 1999 till today, between you and I, too many things he's doing now that were supposed to be done before. And he's doing them now. So if they had done it before, he should be doing a different thing today. And the man is doing virtually what would have been done in 2013, 2009, is what he's doing now. So for me, it's not enough to judge him in 2 years to even start with. It's not.
All right, let's talk in terms of the performance and achievements of some of the presidents, the ministers that are serving under the president's cabinet when it has to do with the drivers of the renewed hope agenda. In your own assessment, in a scale of 1 to 10, where will you place the ministers in terms of their performance so far in the last 2 years? Because, of course, President Bola Tinubu cannot do this all by himself. 42 ministers and various directors of agencies and also departments and parastatals of government are also piloting this ship of the renewed hope agenda. How have the ministers fared so far? Because why I'm asking this, because in the last APC summit, we saw just 6 ministers coming out to present their scorecard to Nigerians. And a lot of ministers seem to be hiding under the shield of the president renewed hope agenda without actually delivering on renewed hope agenda. But in your own assessment so far, what do you make of this whole, his ministers, cabinets in general?
If you look at the ministers, right, as of today, every ministry has one program that is targeted. There's no ministry, no federal ministry that doesn't have a program targeted at young people. And when you talk about performance, I had said there clearly that the president is known for putting up a team that works. This is the president for the first time in less than 2 years has reshuffled his cabinet. Of course, you know so. That is an attempt to be sure that there is success and the Nigerian people get the benefit. This is the same president that gets report virtually every 2-3 months from ministers. So if the APC as a party have a program and 6 ministers come to give report, it doesn't mean that that is the entire progress of the government. It doesn't mean so. It could be an issue of time constraint. It could be an issue of saying, look, these 6 we are given is fine. So for me, like I said earlier, if you look at the Nigerian Youth Investment Fund, you also consider the presidential palliative scheme. There are a lot of things this government is doing. You look at the training in tech from the Ministry of Communication. Look, if you go truly to be sure that you want to know what this government is doing, you will be impressed.
Well, Honorable Dan Obo, let's even talk in terms of practical realities.
Okay.
Right now, when it has to do with the minister, the practicability of the ministers in office. We can literally count performing ministers, except we don't want to tell ourselves the honest truth here on this table. A lot of ministers under this administration are literally unheard of, are literally not performing. They are literally not driving home the agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope policies, programs, and also some of his agendas. But let's talk in terms of when we feel that the president brought out some of the best in terms of Dele Alake, in terms of Tunji Ojo, Olubumi Ojo, the likes of Tunji, what they call this, Alausa, the education minister, and the rest of them to come talk about, even bringing up the special advisor to the president on security in the person of Malam Nuribadu to come talk about what the president has been doing so far. Even Patami also came, the Minister of Health came to speak on what the president has been doing in this regard. Does this mean that the Minister of Water Resources, the Minister in charge of Environment, the Minister of Fisheries, the Minister of other sector is not performing? That's why the president, because we really, honestly, most Nigerians will say that they don't even know if we have ministers in this regard. Does this in large extent interpret that in 42 ministers, only 6 are interpreting the vision of Mr. President?
No, I had told you here earlier that, look, when you have a program within the party, that is more like an internal assessment, right? When you have a program within the party, it could be an issue of time constraint. I am very sure that if you call any of these ministers to come here, they will have something to tell you.
Well, let's believe that they will have something to tell us.
Of course they will.
But then let's
the president that we know cannot keep people. Right, can't keep you if you are not in line with the renewed hope agenda.
So we're taking that from Uju Kennedy's perspective.
So for me, if you want to hear anything in any of these federal ministries, some are not media free. Some people don't like. I mean, in my state, Cross River, I have a commissioner from my local government, right, who is commissioner for agri. Media houses complain, but God, he's doing marvelously well. So he's not someone who everything he wants to do, he wants the media to know. I agree that it's important for the media to know so they can communicate to Nigerian people what is really happening in government. But the reality is that some ministers are deliberately not media freak. But if you call them, they will have something to tell you as regards their ministry.
All right, let's return to Dr. Effiong, who is the National Secretary of the ADC right now. Dr. Effiong, you've heard from the conversation right now. We're trying to look in terms of the performance of the various ministers, even driving the renewed hope agenda. Let's get your take even on this conversation right now.
All right. A great pleasure to still be with you. I'd like to say one thing. My criticism of government, of this government, is not personal by any means, either personal to the president or to the state government. But before we begin to look at what the performances of ministers, I'd like to correct an impression where my colleague in the studio here talked about the issue of security. Now, all federal institutions that take charge of security are under the federal government. No matter how willful a state government is, it cannot do much. A state government cannot issue a directive that is security-wise without getting clearance from the National Security Advisor who is in the presidency. Having said that, I'd like to also say when we interpret the renewed hope of Mr. President, let us interpret this hope as it affects the individual families. In education, how are our boys and girls going to school? Are they going to school better than they were before? Is it cheaper to go to school? The loan, the students' loan that has been approved by Mr. President, how are students assessing these loans? How many individuals have been able to assess the loan to show that they are taking advantage, they are able to take advantage of it? At what cost and at what interest rate? I'd like us to say that the young people are accessing government, young people believe so much in this government. How are young people linking up with government? After the NSAS, let me also praise the security apparatus for thinking fast. After the EFCC locked up or arrested the very dark man. They acted fast to release that young man. Otherwise, what was brewing in the country would not have been something palatable. It shows that the young people are very, very annoyed and restive. It shows that the young people are very, very, very pained and are suffering. I still talk about security, which is the first rule of any government. This government is not doing well in terms of security. The number of ritual killings, the number of people that are killed every day, the number of people that are involved in illegal mining. Just 2 days ago, the immediate past army chief, Ambassador Tukur Buratai, came out to say that this government is not doing well in terms of security, and that he is going, as an ambassador appointed by the APC, is joining the opposition coalition to fight the government because of the policies and how it is affecting people. No matter how we want to call it, we ask yourself, are we doing well? I want to think that if we are doing, the government should be able to praise those of us that have guts to be able to point out the loopholes in its governance structure and how it is going about doing its activities. Our people have been reduced, Nigerians have been reduced to a people of palliative. They tell you that, okay, petrol is coming down. The price of petrol is now coming down. We bought petrol at 87 naira in 2014. In 2023, petrol sold for 196 naira. How much is the cost of petrol today? And where is the money? It's a simple question. What are they doing with the money? Why our external debts keep rising? What are we buying? The infrastructure that we are providing, where are the infrastructures? How are we bidding for tender for those jobs? So when we look at it on a scale of, on a spectrum rather, and you begin to point out and say, how fair is this? How is it affecting the Nigerian people? How are they faring? What is the quality of life today? The quality of life today in Nigeria is less than $5,000. Is less than $5. $5. If you take it along with take the Nigerian naira to the pound, it's 2010 naira to the pound. Meaning
right.
that.
Well, Dr. Ifyong, let's return back
Yes,
to Honorable Dan Obo here in the studio. To quick, he was reacting already to some of the things you're saying, but we didn't want to make it a rowdy section. So let's allow him to have a take even on this conversation you've raised so far about some of this concern of education and other sector that you felt dissatisfied with the president achievement.
before he comes in, let me explain something to you.
Honorable
Please, before who comes in.
react to this.
Are there actually people who are benefiting from the nail phone? The answer is yes. Of course, the answer is yes. You know that the people don't benefit to the extent at which he wants them to. Doesn't mean that it is not working. Now, that's one. Two, is the NSA giving briefs about the achievement of the president in terms of security? The answer is yes. Call media houses, publicly say what has happened, moves himself, go to the field himself, right? Now, the president also appointed a Minister for Defense from the North, Minister for State for Defense from the North. The same man who is talking about angry with this government is among those who did coalition. Some people who say they won't support Asiwaju today, they never supported him even before. They did not. So coming to say that they won't support him now, it's a normal thing that they have had. The ambassadorial appointment that Bruta has was from Muhammad Buhari, not from Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So he has a right to say so. And between you and I, politically speaking, you know that those who worked with President Buhari, a certain number of them never wanted Asiwaju to be president. So that beef is still there. So, but let's keep that aside. If we talk about young people benefiting from this government, which is the main purpose why I'm here, the answer is we are. We have a lot of programs that the president has introduced, even support young people in doing business. So for me, let's give the president time. Let's watch the policies. You don't expect policies to just turn things around. A country, now you talk about the fuel subsidy. There was no precedent between 2003 till today who has ever campaigned without telling Nigerians that he will remove subsidy. There's no precedent. In 2023, Atiku said he will remove subsidy. Peter Obi said he will remove subsidy. So what is the crisis that Tinubu said he will and he has?
All right, let's delve.
You get what I mean?
I get you, but let me.
Can I come in, please?
So the offense is that Tinubu is the one that removed the subsidy.
Well, let's not take it out.
It would have been their people. They remove the
Let's
subsidy.
not take it out on the president right now.
Please, can I come in? I'd like to react.
You get what I mean?
But let's look at, as we begin to wrap up right now. The future of Nigerian youths tend to be pregnant with a lot of possibilities, endless possibilities. In your own projection, looking at what the president has done so far and what he has not done, is there light at the end of the tunnel for Nigerian youths?
Yes, there's so much light at the end of the tunnel for Nigerian youth. But let opportunity not meet us as young people not prepared. Mindset. There must be a shift of mindset from taking to vote. There must be a shift of mindset for vote for excellence. There must be a shift of mindset from demobilization for every gathering you sit around political engagement. Now, we know that as young people from this country, it will be very sad that after 3-4 decades, you and I come to governance to solve a problem that would have been solved in the first decade. So what the president is doing today is daring to stabilize the economy, stabilize the political, stabilize our politics, right? Stabilize our security architecture, so that as they are leaving the state, because they must leave, by any which way, they must leave. As they leave, the young people of this country should inherit a stable system of government that will be competitive. Not a government that you come and talk about removing subsidy, a government you come and talk about INEC, a government you come and talk about local government autonomy, a government you come and talk about NELFON, a government you come and talk about youth palliative. No, we must, who started palliative? It wasn't Tinubu. He's not the one. They started giving palliative before he even became president. So, but if you look at all of this put together, I will appeal to Nigerian young people. And of course, I will say it here very clear that President Tinubu has majority of the young people on his side. And we will prove that on the ballot.
I would like to argue with you of proving that on the ballot. Right now. But then I wish we can talk more even in terms of the president's achievements, in terms of youth mobilization and achievements within the youth age bracket of Nigeria. But time.
Yes, he has a minister for youth young, special assistant youth young, senior special assistant youth young, minister for communication young, minister for interior young, even the NSA we are talking about is also a young man. So the president has pushed in a lot of people. In doing so, his mentorship.
Well, literally, the president has even said that he's a young man.
Of course he is.
Well, it's a good way to end the show right now. I want to say thank you so much, Honorable Dan.
No, Comrade Danubo. I'm not that honorable.
Okay, sorry, Comrade
Yes, my name is Danubo, Junior. Yeah.
Being in the show this evening.
Thank you so very
much. I want to
much.
say thank you so much to also the Mr. Dr. Ifyong Young for finding out time to be with us all the way from Cross River State. I appreciate you for your time. Well, viewers, this is how far we can go today on A Big Talk. I want to say thank you so much for staying with us till this time. Remember that you can join the conversation on our various social media handle right now. They're all displayed on the screen using our Global TV NG. And you can also download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app from your Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. My name is Godwin Sunday. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now.